take your hand off her," Ronan Castellano said as rival Don Lucien Varga kissed Maya Bennett's knuckles. The ceasefire auction went silent. Maya, a plus-size forensic accountant, smiled as Lucien offered to triple her salary and slipped a black casino chip into her palm. Every captain saw betrayal. Maya controlled Ronan's reserve accounts, and the chip carried his private vault number. Ronan crossed the marble floor, but Maya raised the chip toward a chandelier. This serial was cancelled before tonight's first bid, she said. She pressed it against the auction reader. A hidden payment ledger opened, exposing a transfer from Lucien's charity to the gunmen outside. His flirtation had been cover. Maya had allowed the touch to capture his print on the chip. The truth silenced the room. Then steel shutters sealed the ballroom, and the transfer changed from pending to released. Maya had 6 minutes to freeze the payment before Ronan's own security team was paid to kill him. Ronan stepped between her and Lucien, but his hand remained near his weapon rather than her waist. "Can you stop it? Only if nobody interrupts me." Maya pulled the auction reader from its stand and connected it to the accounting terminal beneath the podium. 9 payment lines appeared, each assigned to a different member of Ronan's protection detail. Men across the ballroom checked their phones as identical deposit alerts reached them. Their confusion looked real, but Ronan had survived too long to treat appearances as proof. "Lower your weapons," he ordered. "Anyone who raises one dies first." Lucien adjusted his cuff with a faint smile. "Your accountant arranged the transfer. Castellano. Ask her why my charity account carries her authorization." A voice file began playing through the terminal. Maya's recorded words filled the ballroom. "Release the full amount when Lucien touches the chip." Ronan turned toward her. "Is that your voice?" "Yes." Several captains moved closer. Maya did not waste time denying what could be verified. 3 days ago, I authorized a $1 test transfer. Someone preserved my voice and replaced the amount. 5 minutes remained. Ronan studied the screen. The payment had increased to $8 million, enough to make every guard appear purchased after his death. "Why were you testing Lucien's account?" "Because money from one of your casinos disappeared into his charity. And you decided to investigate without telling me I told your financial counsel." Every member Maya's fingers stopped for half a second. "That was my mistake." Lucien laughed softly. "Or your confession." Maya enlarged the transfer file and pointed to the authorization line. "My templates place the month before the day. This one uses the European order." Lucien's expression did not change, but 3 foreign delegates glanced toward him. "That proves someone copied my certificate from outside the country," Maya continued. "It does not prove Lucien created the payment." Ronan's gaze sharpened. "You're defending the man who just tried to buy you. I'm defending the truth." "His print proves he touched the chip." "Nothing more." 4 minutes remained. Maya entered a freeze command. The terminal rejected it because her credentials had been revoked 8 minutes earlier before Lucien approached her. Only Ronan's family comptroller possessed authority to remove her access. "The person behind this is inside your financial counsel," she said. "And that person knew Lucien would flirt with me tonight." Ronan removed the black onyx signet from his finger and pressed its face against the reader. Maya captured his authorization, redirected the transfer toward the auction's protected escrow account, and entered a sequence of verification totals from memory. 2 minutes remained. The money moved halfway, then stopped. A second approval appeared beneath hers. It carried Maya's private accounting seal and a timestamp from 18 minutes earlier. Ronan's men seized her arms. "I didn't authorize that," she said. "But someone needs you to believe I did." Ronan looked from her seal to the rival boss, watching with calculated amusement. Let her finish. She is buying time. Lucien warned. So am I. Ronan drew his pistol and placed its muzzle beneath Lucien's jaw. Maya forced the transfer through 3 compliance holds. With 4 seconds remaining, the payment froze inside the protected account. The ballroom exhaled, then a bullet shattered the window directly behind Maya's head. Ronan dragged her below the stone podium as a second shot struck the auction reader. The gunmen had not aimed at him. They were trying to kill the only person capable of tracing the money. A security captain crouched beside them with his radio pressed to his ear. Boss. The attackers entered through the western service door using Miss Bennett's credentials. Ronan's expression changed. Maya gripped his sleeve. Someone copied my seal, revoked my access, and opened that door. If you lock me away. The ledger disappears, with the only trail we have. Ronan looked at the armed men surrounding her, then issued an order that protected Maya and condemned her at the same time. Take her to my counting vault. No calls, no visitors, until I know who owns her loyalty. She leaves that room only with me. The captain pulled Maya upright as he escorted her toward the vault. The black chip vibrated inside her hand. A final message appeared across its surface. Bring Ronan's accountant downstairs before midnight, or everyone she saved tonight will die. 5 days earlier, Maya had found the first missing dollar in a transfer worth exactly 1. The amount was too small to matter and too precise to ignore. She sat in the cash control office above the Castellano Grand Casino, comparing electronic deposits with the paper closure sheets signed by every cage manager. Ronan's legitimate gaming company handled hundreds of millions each month. But Maya insisted that unexplained money was never harmless merely because it was small. A $1 transfer had left the Grand's employee relief fund, touched a foreign payment exchange, and returned through the Golden Meridian Foundation, a charity controlled by Lucien Varga. The cycle lasted 11 seconds. It was a test of a hidden route. Maya printed the transaction, marked each step in red pencil, and placed it inside the blue audit folder she carried everywhere. Sabine Castellano entered without knocking. Ronan's older half-sister wore an ivory suit and the expression of someone who considered every room family property. As comptroller, she approved emergency transfers and oversaw the private financial council. You are still here, Sabine said. The auction committee needs the donor list. They received it an hour ago. Then why are you staring at $1? Maya slid the printout beneath a clean sheet, because it traveled more than most people. Sabine's smile was polite and empty. She had never forgiven Ronan for hiring an outsider to inspect Castellano money, especially an outsider who refused to be intimidated by rooms full of men. Lucien's foundation is attending the ceasefire auction. Perhaps the dollar is a registration test. Then it should have entered the auction account, not employee relief. Sabine held out her hand. Give the matter to the council, Maya did. Because Ronan's written protocol required all suspected laundering paths to be reported through family finance before outside verification. Sabine signed the receipt at 4:10. Maya used the audit terminal to authorize a $1 controlled return. She spoke the required phrase into the recorder. Release the full amount when Lucien touches the chip. Full amount meant $1 in the test instructions. The phrase linked the return to a black bearer chip assigned to Lucien's charity table. If the dollar moved when he handled it, Maya would know someone had connected his physical auction token to the hidden account. Sabine watched from the doorway. You make bookkeeping sound like a threat. Bookkeeping is a record of choices. Some choices are threats. Ronan arrived 10 minutes later, with his jacket over one shoulder and 2 captains waiting outside. At 46, he carried authority without needing to raise his voice. He also carried a habit of trusting blood before proof. A weakness Maya had seen, but never confronted directly. Sabine kissed his cheek and told him the auction accounts were clean. Maya looked at the blue folder. They are not clean yet. Sabine's jaw tightened. Ronan dismissed his captains and closed the door. Explain. Maya showed him the $1 route, but withheld Lucien's name until she could verify whether his foundation had been used without his knowledge. Ronan read the paper twice. Can it touch my reserve account? Not unless someone adds my private certificate and your family authorization. Who has access? I do. Sabine does during an emergency. The council can approve a temporary duplicate. Ronan glanced through the glass wall after his sister. Sabine would burn this casino before stealing from it. Those are not the only 2 possibilities. His eyes returned to Maya. He depended on her conclusions but disliked any question that reached his family. 3 years earlier, Maya had saved the Grand's license by exposing a tax fraud committed by a respected executive. Ronan had hired her permanently the same day. Since then, she had challenged his captains, rejected his gifts, and become the one person who entered his office without bringing fear with her. She was also the only woman whose absence he noticed before the door closed. Neither of them had named that fact. Maya lived alone above the neighborhood tax clinic founded by her late younger brother. She used part of her salary to keep its doors open for families who could not afford professional help. Ronan knew about the clinic because every December she refused his bonus and asked him to sponsor free filing workshops instead. He had quietly tripled the donation and forbidden his public relations staff from attaching his name. Maya had found out anyway. Let me trace the foreign exchange before the auction, she said. If I am wrong, Lucien never knows we looked. And if you are right, then someone is trying to use a rival boss as the visible end of an internal theft. Ronan came around the desk. The space narrowed, but he did not touch her. Do not meet Lucien alone. That sounded like an order unrelated to accounting. Everything involving Lucien is related to survival. Maya almost smiled. He flirts with every woman who can add numbers faster than he can. Then he must lead a lonely life. The answer carried more heat than strategy. Maya looked at him until he recognized it. Ronan stepped back first. Take 2 guards to the Foundation office. Your guards report to the Financial Council. They report to me. After they report to Sabine. His silence confirmed the problem. At last, he placed his signet on the desk. Take this instead. Maya did not reach for it. If I carry your ring into Lucien's office, I am not conducting an audit. I am declaring a war. Ronan closed his hand around the signet, then find another way. He left the cash control office, trusting her to do exactly that. While Sabine watched from the corridor and quietly deleted the copy of the $1 test from the council queue, Maya traced the dollar without entering Lucien's foundation. Golden Meridian used an auction processor called North Star Civic Payments, a company with no employees, no public office, and a mailing address inside a private club owned by the Castellano family. North Star had opened 6 weeks earlier using documents approved by Sabine's office. That connection proved access, not guilt. Sabine approved hundreds of vendors each year, and the signature could have passed through a deputy. Maya tested the harmless explanation by sending a second $1 transaction through a different charity processor. It returned normally. Only Golden Meridian triggered the foreign exchange. Then, a larger discrepancy appeared. $8 million had vanished from the Grand's renovation reserve in 47 small transfers, each rounded to resemble construction invoices. The money now sat behind the black bearer chip assigned to Lucien's charity table at the ceasefire auction. Whoever held the chip during the final bid could release it. Maya called Sabine from a public phone and said she had found irregular construction invoices, but did not mention North Star or the chip. Within 20 minutes, the 47 transfers disappeared from the casino's visible books. Her safe warning had exposed the investigation. She photographed the screen with an instant camera before the records vanished, creating an image that no network administrator could alter. She could have taken the proof directly to Ronan, but the financial counsel logged every private appointment on his schedule. If Sabine was compromised, she would know before Maya reached his door. If someone beneath Sabine was using her authority, a direct accusation might cause the real architect to destroy the bearer ledger. Maya needed the black chip handled in public, under cameras, where its hidden account could be opened without alerting the controller. Lucien became necessary. She attended a donor reception at the Meridian Hotel the night before the auction, wearing a green dress and carrying no Castellano insignia. Lucien approached within 4 minutes. He was handsome in the polished way of a man who expected interest to become compliance. Ronan sends his accountant to inspect my charity. Ronan does not know I am here. Then the evening has improved. Maya asked about North Star. Lucien denied choosing the processor and produced an email showing the auction committee had assigned it to him. The message came from Sabine's office, but its digital signature belonged to Maya. Lucien watched her read it. "Did you authorize my account?" "No." "Can you prove that?" "Not yet." He offered her a drink. She declined. He offered her a job. Triple what Castellano pays. No family council. No suspicious sister. No man pretending he looks at you only because you understand his money. Maya's face remained calm, though the last sentence landed. You mistake observation for insight, and Ronan mistakes silence for restraint. Lucien placed the black auction chip on the table. Maya recognized the cancelled serial from a group retired after a counterfeit incident. Modern readers should have rejected it. Yet North Star had activated it. "Bring that tomorrow," she said. "Touch it only after the first major bid." "Why?" "Because someone expects your fingerprint on the payment instrument." Lucien's amusement vanished. Maya showed him the instant photograph of the missing transfers, but kept the original in her blue folder. "If $8 million leaves your charity during a shooting, Ronan will believe you purchased his guards. You will believe he staged the accusation. Both families will answer with blood. And you believe smiling at me can prevent a war. I believe people reveal themselves when they think they understand the scene." Lucien agreed to carry the chip, but he demanded the right to make a public offer for Maya's services. He wanted his captains to believe she might defect, ensuring the real controller would not cancel the transfer. Maya hated the risk, yet it was the only way to keep the trap alive. She returned to the Grand after midnight and found her audit office open. Nothing had been stolen. Instead, someone had placed copies of her brother's tax clinic accounts across the desk. A $2 million deposit appeared under Maya's personal authorization, dated for the morning after the auction. The money did not exist yet, but the documents had been prepared to make her look paid. Across the first page, a handwritten note read, "Smile at Lucien. Take the money and leave Ronan alive. Refuse, and the clinic becomes your laundering front." Maya sealed the forged pages inside the blue folder. The threat explained why she could not simply warn Ronan. The clinic served hundreds of innocent families. If the account were frozen during a federal inquiry, Their confidential tax records and livelihoods would be exposed. Worse, the writer knew about Lucien's planned flirtation, which only Maya, Lucien, and whoever monitored North Star could know. She altered the auction reader so the bearer ledger would appear on the main screen when Lucien touched the chip. Then she added a private compliance hold she could trigger if the transfer began. At 3 a.m, she sent Ronan one message. At the auction, trust what I can prove, not what you think you see. His reply arrived seconds later. Do not make me choose between those things. Maya stared at the words, wishing he understood that someone had already built the choice for him. The counting vault beneath the ballroom had no windows, no network signal, and one mechanical lock controlled from the casino cage. Ronan followed Maya inside and dismissed everyone except 2 guards. He took the black chip from her palm with a handkerchief, preserving Lucien's print. Tell me what the message means. Maya showed him the threat. The chip's tiny display had gone dark, but its final instruction remained in temporary memory. Someone wants me downstairs before midnight. That means the payment was only the first stage. Who knew you would let Lucien touch it? Lucien. Me. And whoever built North Star. Before she could explain the shell processor, Sabine arrived with the financial counsel and demanded entry. Ronan allowed her in because family protocol required the comptroller to witness any reserve account breach. The decision gave the conspiracy exactly what it needed. Sabine placed 3 documents on the counting table: the $2 million transfer into Maya's tax clinic, the digital authorization releasing $8 million from the renovation reserve, and a hotel photograph showing Maya seated beside Lucien the previous night. She met him privately, accepted his chip, and prepared her payment. Sabine said. Maya recognized every fact. She had met Lucien. She had touched the chip. She had authorized a $1 test. The forged context turned those true actions into a complete betrayal. The clinic transfer has not settled, Maya said. It was created to make the release look like my price. Sabine faced Ronan. Then let her open the clinic account. Maya could not. A court order protected the tax records of hundreds of clients, and opening the account to a private Mafia counsel would expose identities, incomes, and immigration filings. I will provide it to an independent examiner, she said. Not to this room. Sabine's sorrow appeared almost maternal. An innocent accountant would show the money. An ethical one protects her clients. Ronan looked at Maya, caught between the boundary he had once respected and evidence designed to make that boundary appear convenient. Where is your blue audit folder? He asked. Maya reached for the leather case taken from her at the ballroom entrance. One guard opened it. The instant photograph of the missing transfers was gone. In its place lay a signed offer from Lucien, promising Maya triple her salary and a partnership in Golden Meridian. Lucien's public flirtation now had a contract behind it. Maya turned towards Sabine. You searched this folder. It remained with casino security. Security, whose payment accounts were just used. Ronan raised one hand before the counsel could answer. Nobody leaves. A bitter odor entered through the air vent. Maya heard the mechanical lock engage from outside. One of the guards beside the door pulled a respirator from beneath his jacket. The other reached for his radio and collapsed before he could speak. Sabine struck the emergency bell. But no sound traveled beyond the sealed room. The compromised guard aimed at Maya. Ronan moved between them. Maya kicked the brake from a coin trolley and sent half a ton of wrapped currency rolling across the sloped floor. It struck the gunman's legs and pinned him against the vault cage. Ronan disarmed him. but the chemical haze thickened. Maya opened a maintenance ledger and found the old pneumatic cash tube schedule. The vault's digital ventilation was dead, the mechanical tube still connected to cashier station 4. She placed the black chip, the forged clinic transfer, and a handwritten note inside a steel capsule. Ronan caught her wrist. "Where are you sending the only proof to a cashier who closes every shift on paper? Someone who cannot be erased from a server." She launched the capsule. Sabine lunged for the tube too late. The emergency lights failed. In the darkness, another shot struck the counting table. Maya dropped, crawled beneath the cage, and found a service panel used to inspect the coin conveyor. She could open it from inside, but only one person could pass before the spring reset. Ronan ordered her through. "I'm not leaving you in here." That is not loyalty. It is bad arithmetic. She used the trolley handle to jam the spring, widening the opening long enough for Ronan and the uninjured council members to follow. Sabine came last, coughing against a silk scarf. By the time they reached the service corridor, the cashier at Station 4 had vanished, and the steel capsule was missing. A camera showed Maya's credentials opening the station door 2 minutes earlier. While Maya had been trapped in the vault in front of witnesses, the contradiction should have cleared her. Instead, Sabine claimed Maya had arranged an accomplice. Then the loading bay camera showed Lucien pulling the missing cashier into his vehicle. He stopped long enough for Maya to climb inside beside them. Ronan called after her, but armed catering staff entered the corridor from both ends. Maya had no safe route back. Lucien drove through the service barrier as bullets struck the trunk. To everyone watching the feed, Maya had escaped with the rival who offered to buy her. Ronan faced the council while smoke alarms spread through the casino. He froze Maya's corporate authority and ordered every Castellano account connected to her sealed. Sabine demanded that he authorize deadly force. He refused. Yet his public words still destroyed what remained of Maya's safety. Maya Bennett is under investigation for conspiracy with Lucien Varga. Bring her back in custody. The order reached the city before Maya reached the river. Her tax clinic was closed by gaming compliance agents acting on an anonymous laundering report. Families waiting outside watched officers carry away boxes of confidential records. Maya saw the broadcast on Lucien's dashboard. Ronan had not only doubted her, he had allowed the frame to swallow the one place she protected beyond herself. Behind their car, 3 black vehicles accelerated through the rain. The ceasefire auction ended without a signed truce. Gaming regulators gave both families 48 hours to appear at an emergency ownership hearing inside the Grand Exchange Casino. If they failed, the licenses of 6 properties would be suspended and 12,000 employees would lose access to payroll. Sabine argued that Lucien's attack proved negotiation was impossible. She asked Ronan to invoke the family war clause, which would place all reserve accounts under her sole control until the rival threat ended. Ronan refused to sign and entered Maya's empty audit office. Without her, the Financial Council produced 6 different totals for the same loss. Vendors demanded duplicate payments. Security schedules no longer matched payroll codes. Maya had built quiet controls around the weaknesses of every department, and no one had realized how often Ronan's empire leaned on the woman they now called a thief. He opened the tax clinic transfer first. Maya had never accepted direct corporate money into the clinic, even when Ronan donated. She required an independent community trust to receive it. Yet the supposed bribe went straight from Golden Meridian into an account bearing her name. That violated the boundary she had defended in the vault while facing a gun. It was the first contradiction. Ronan obtained the raw voice recording from the casino's offline compliance machine. Maya's sentence had been genuine. But a tone sounded after the phrase, the confirmation tone for a $1 test. The 8 to million amount was added later through North Star. More important, Maya's duplicate certificate had been created at 11:42, 8 minutes after Sabine revoked her access. Maya could not have generated a replacement after the system locked her out. Someone with comptroller authority had done it. That was the second contradiction. Ronan ordered Station 4 preserved. Sabine immediately replied that the cashier had destroyed the missing capsule and defected with Lucien. Ronan had never told her a capsule existed. Only he, Maya, the trapped council members, and the cashier had seen it. Sabine knew both its destination and its disappearance before security filed a report. That was the third contradiction. Ronan felt the shape of his error before he allowed himself to name its author. He had believed Sabine because she shared his father's name and because Maya's refusal to expose clinic clients looked like secrecy. Blood had received the benefit of every doubt. Earned loyalty had received armed custody. He searched North Star's incorporation papers. The registered organizer was an attorney employed by Arclight Leisure Fund. The shell bidder positioned to purchase suspended casino licenses. Arclight's hidden beneficiary was protected by a nominee trust. But its funding came from a family account established by Sabine 20 years earlier. Ronan did not confront her. Maya had shown him what premature accusation cost. Instead, he designed 3 paper traps. He told one council member the original black chip registry was hidden in the Riverboat Casino. He told another it was inside the tax clinic's evidence boxes. He told Sabine it was kept in an abandoned Castellano counting house on Mercer Street. Each location received a different time for recovery. Less than an hour later, armed men entered the Mercer Street building and removed an empty ledger case. Ronan's loyal driver photographed their license plate, but did not intervene. The vehicle belonged to North Star Civic Payments. Sabine had acted on information only she possessed. Suspicion had become connection. Conviction still required proof. She ordered the assassinations and controlled the final transfer. Ronan called the cashier from Station 4 through a private number Maya had placed in the paper emergency book. The woman answered from a locked storeroom. Lucien had not abducted her. He had pulled her away from attackers wearing Castellano uniforms. She still possessed the steel capsule. Before she could give her location, someone broke through the outer door. The call ended with a crash. Ronan traced the line to Maya's closed tax clinic. He left without notifying the council. Sabine watched his car depart from a financial security screen and sent a second team toward the same address. Confident Ronan was about to discover Maya beside his rival. Maya returned to the tax clinic because the seized client boxes contained more than personal records. Her late brother had installed an old microfilm machine in the basement, and Maya had copied every suspicious casino transaction onto film before storing it behind the property tax archive. Digital thieves could rewrite accounts. They could not reach evidence they did not know existed. Lucien parked 2 streets away, while Maya and the cashier entered through the roof of the adjoining bakery. The cashier carried the steel capsule beneath her coat. She had memorized the faces of the men who attacked Station 4. But none belonged to Lucien's organization. They wore Castellano pins. She said, "New ones." The lion faced left. Authentic Castellano pins faced right. The attackers were meant to be identified as Ronan's men from a frightened glance. Maya retrieved the microfilm and compared the chip batch numbers. The cancelled chip Lucien carried came from a private issue of 50 tokens minted for the Castellano family office. Sabine's department had reported all 50 destroyed after the counterfeit incident. The bearer ledger showed that 7 survived. Each had routed stolen casino money into Arclight. Before Maya could photograph the list, The clinic's fire door opened upstairs. Ronan descended alone. Lucien raised his weapon. Ronan did the same. Maya stood between their lines of fire. If either of you shoots, the survivor still loses the casinos. Neither man lowered his gun. Lucien saved the cashier. Maya told Ronan. He also touched a chip carrying $8 million meant for my security team. Because I asked him to. Ronan looked at her as if the words struck harder than the weapon. You arranged the scene. I arranged a test. Someone else arranged the murder. And you decided I could not be trusted with the plan. I decided your counsel could not be trusted. You proved I was right when you handed me to it. Ronan lowered his gun first. Lucien followed 1 second later. Not out of trust, but because Maya had control of the evidence. Ronan faced her without defense. I was wrong. I placed bloodline above facts. And my order exposed your clinic. There is no excuse. Maya had imagined hearing those words while driving through the rain. They did not repair the clients whose records had been carried past television cameras. An apology is not a restoration. Tell me what restoration requires. Truth, at the same volume as the accusation. Independent control of the evidence. And no command over me. Ronan removed his phone and weapon, set both on the basement table, and stepped away. You control the room. Lucien observed them with an expression that held less amusement than before. This would be touching if 3 cars had not stopped outside. The false Castellano team entered through the clinic lobby. Maya switched off the basement light and pulled the paper fire plan from the wall. The building had been renovated twice, but tax records preserved the original service tunnel, connecting it to the municipal archive. The attackers would search the visible stairwell first. Maya led the group through a cabinet door hidden behind filing shelves. 1 gunman reached the basement before the panel closed. Maya dropped a rolling record rack across the doorway. Trapping his leg without crushing it, Ronan disarmed him through the gap. They escaped into the tunnel while smoke rolled from the clinic above. Sabine's men were burning the seized boxes to erase the laundering frame and destroy the microfilm. At the archive exit, Lucien found a tracking tab sewn into the cashier's coat. The tab carried a North Star batch mark. Ronan cut it free and placed it inside the empty steel capsule. We can send them to any location, he said. Maya took the capsule from him. We will send them where the regulators can see them. They reached a secure office controlled by the State Gaming Commission, which already had authority over the emergency hearing. Maya surrendered copies of the microfilm, but retained the original bearer register in a sealed evidence bag signed by 4 witnesses. Lucien agreed to testify that Sabine's auction office assigned North Star to his charity and that Maya requested his public flirtation as a trap. In return, he demanded no favor from Maya. He asked only that his family receive equal protection during the hearing. Ronan agreed. The decision cost him strategic advantage, which made it meaningful. Together they built a controlled account named Harbor 9 and filled it with fictitious recovery money. Access required the original family office master chip. Maya sent Sabine a forged message suggesting that Lucien planned to release the fund during the hearing and expose Maya as his paid partner. If Sabine controlled the surviving black chips, she would try to seize Harbor 9 before Maya could speak. Ronan placed his onyx signet beside the sealed register. What do you need from me? At the hearing, you will accuse me again. The words tightened his face. No, Sabine must believe you still trust her. If she knows we joined forces, she will destroy the master chip and claim North Star acted alone. You are asking me to disgrace you twice. I am telling you the price of proving who disgraced me first. Ronan held her gaze, then gave the answer his former self could not have given. "I will follow your plan." Maya picked up neither his signet nor his hand. Trust would require more than one correct decision. Still, when they left the commission office through separate doors, she gave Ronan the original blue audit folder to carry. It was the first piece of her evidence she had placed willingly in his hands. The emergency hearing could not be moved or hidden. State gaming commissioners, employee representatives, creditors, and both families were required to attend inside the Grand Exchange Casino by noon. If ownership remained disputed when the regulatory clock expired, every Castellano and Varga license would freeze. Sabine knew Ronan could not cancel without handing Arclight the distressed properties she intended to purchase. Maya used that certainty as the foundation of the countertrap. The Gaming Commission created Harbor 9 as a controlled account, visible only through Northstar's private route. It contained no real money, but its ledger displayed $12 million in recoverable casino funds. A fluorescent marker invisible to ordinary readers coated the account's authorization field. Any physical chip used to open Harbor 9 would collect the marker inside its engraved grooves. Maya prepared 3 sealed notices stating where the original bearer register would enter the hearing. Ronan's security chief received Cage 1. Lucien's attorney received the commission vault. Sabine alone received Cage 9. Along with the tracking tab hidden inside the steel capsule. If Northstar men moved toward Cage 9, the source of the leak would be established independently of every digital record. The original register remained with a commission examiner. Maya also recorded a sworn explanation of the $1 test, including the untouched compliance audio and the instant photograph taken before the transfers vanished. That evidence proved the case against her had been manipulated. But it did not prove Sabine ordered murder. Harbor 9 had to draw out the master chip. Once she inserts it, the marker links the physical instrument to the controlled account. Maya explained. The commission system will record the exact command. She cannot blame an employee unless she gives the chip away. Ronan studied the hearing map. She will give it away. Then we need the person who receives it alive. Lucien volunteered one of his captains to watch the Northstar corridor. Ronan rejected the offer until Maya reminded him that cooperation, not dominance, was the purpose of the ceasefire. He accepted with visible reluctance. Later, while the others prepared, Ronan found Maya alone beside the commission windows. Below them, clinic volunteers were carrying salvaged boxes into a temporary office. "I restored the lease and paid for independent counsel," he said. Maya did not thank him. "That repairs part of the harm. Not the public accusation. No." Ronan stood beside her without crowding the glass. "Tomorrow I will repeat it. Tomorrow you will perform it. The difference will matter only if we survive long enough to prove the plan." He offered her a protective vest. She accepted because refusing useful protection would turn dignity into vanity. In return, she gave him a small paper ledger containing the true sequence of events. "If the system fails, read this aloud. Every transaction has a witness and a source." Ronan placed it inside his jacket. "And, if they take you, continue the hearing." The demand struck the part of him that equated love with refusing to leave. Maya saw it and held firm. "You do not prove that I matter by destroying the plan to reach me. You prove it by respecting the choice I made." Ronan nodded once. "I understand." At 11 that night, the tracking tab began moving. It traveled from the commission mailroom toward Cage 9, then stopped beneath the casino floor. A Northstar access card opened the old chipmint room. Sabine was testing the route before the hearing. Maya did not order an arrest. The master chip was still missing, and Sabine could claim a vendor acted without her. They watched the signal return to the family office elevator. The trap had attracted its target. Now Sabine knew where Maya wanted her to look. At 11:30 the next morning, Maya entered the Grand Exchange through the public doors. Cameras captured every step. She wore a dark green suit and carried no Castellano insignia. Ronan sat with his counsel on the left side of the hearing chamber. Lucien sat opposite him, his usual amusement replaced by alert restraint. Sabine occupied the witness table between the two families, presenting herself as the only financial officer untouched by scandal. The commission chair opened the hearing and gave them 30 minutes to establish lawful control. Sabine spoke first. She displayed the hotel recording of Maya arranging Lucien's public offer, the signed employment contract found in the blue folder, and the $2 million clinic transfer. Every item was genuine or built around a genuine act. Maya Bennett manipulated both families, Sabine said. She used Lucien's attraction to move stolen funds, then blamed the Castellano council when her plan failed. Maya was called to answer. Before she could reach the microphone, Ronan stood. She acted without my authorization and concealed her contact with Lucien. I cannot recognize her as a Castellano representative. Murmurs spread through the employee gallery. Maya forced herself not to react. Those were the words she had instructed him to use. Yet, hearing them in the same room where her clinic clients watched felt like swallowing the first betrayal again. The commission removed her credentials and assigned 2 officers to escort her to an audit room. Sabine believed Ronan had rejected her. That belief loosened her caution. At 11:42, North Star men entered the corridor toward Cage 9. Commission observers followed through service cameras. Then the signal divided. One team carried the tracked capsule into an empty vault, exactly as Maya expected. The second team entered the chip mint room through an undocumented passage and disabled its camera. Sabine had adapted. She used the visible team as bait while the real team searched for the original register elsewhere. In the audit room, Maya heard the old mint press start beneath the floor. The officers escorting her wore genuine commission badges, but one locked the door from outside and switched off the alarm. Sabine had not corrupted them. She had replaced the room assignment after Maya's credential was revoked. A speaker in the ceiling carried Sabine's voice. You should have taken Lucien's offer. Ronan will always choose a Castellano over a Bennett. Heat rose through the floor as the chip furnace ignited. Sabine intended to burn the mint records, the counterfeit molds, and Maya together, leaving North Star as a dead vendor. Maya removed the wire from her credential badge and opened the wall panel. The door release had been cut. The old cash tube still connected the audit room to the main cage, but the capsule was too narrow for her to escape. She sent her broken badge instead, striking the brass receiver 3 times, the mechanical distress code taught to every cage employee. On the hearing floor, Ronan heard the taps through the cashier station. He started to rise, then remembered her command to continue. His hands closed against the table until the knuckles whitened. Sabine placed the family war declaration before him. Sign, and I can secure the reserves before Lucien takes what remains. Ronan picked up the pen. At the same moment, a North Star technician delivered a black master chip to Sabine beneath the witness table. Lucien saw the exchange but said nothing. They needed her to use it. Ronan signed only the receipt, confirming that the declaration had been presented. Sabine covered the text with her hand and announced that temporary financial authority had transferred to her. She inserted the master chip into the hearing terminal and opened Harbor 9. The controlled account flashed green. To the room. It appeared Sabine had recovered $12 million. Maya tried to steal. To the commission system. The master chip had just identified itself. Then Sabine moved the entire fictitious balance into ArcLight. Pressed execute, and ordered security to seize Maya before she could challenge the transaction. Below them, the furnace reached full heat, and smoke began filling the locked audit room. Maya wrapped her suit jacket around her injured hand and opened the maintenance panel beneath the cash tube. The furnace shared an emergency pressure line with the mint press. Every physical count sheet listed a mandatory cool-down after a high-temperature cycle. Sabine understood electronic money, but had never worked a cage floor. Maya turned the manual pressure valve. Steam rushed from the furnace into the empty chip press, triggering the building's mechanical safety shutters. The audit room door released automatically. Maya emerged through the service corridor as Sabine's false officers arrived. She pulled a coin cart across the narrow passage, sent it downhill, and forced them to jump aside. Commission security met them at the far stairwell. Maya did not wait for an escort. She entered the hearing chamber while Harbor 9 still glowed on the main screen. "Do not close that account," she called. Sabine turned from the witness table. The thief returns to claim her money. Maya placed the original bearer register beneath the document camera. Harbor 9 contains no money. It contains a marker. A commission examiner removed the master chip from the terminal and illuminated it beneath ultraviolet light. Bright lines filled the engraved grooves. The same batch number appeared in the bearer register beside Sabine's family office authorization. Sabine recovered quickly. Maya designed the account. She could have coated any chip and planted it on me. It was the rebuttal Maya expected. She displayed the controlled notices. Only your copy named Cage 9. North Star men entered that cage and the hidden mint passage before the hearing. Their access cards were issued through your office. Sabine pointed toward Lucien. His charity hired North Star, Lucien Varga. Your auction committee assigned them to me using Maya's forged signature. My foundation never paid their invoice. He produced the original email headers verified by the commission. Sabine tried one final defense. A dishonest employee could have used my authority. Maya played the untouched compliance audio. The $1 confirmation tone followed her voice. Then she displayed the certificate log showing her duplicate credentials were created after Sabine revoked her access. Only the comptroller's master chip could create that certificate. The same chip is on the table. 3 independent lines now converged the physical chip, the controlled location, and the authorization record. Ronan opened Maya's paper ledger and read the chain aloud, naming every witness and every custody transfer. Sabine could not erase ink held by the commission. Lucien, the cashier, and Ronan at once. The room changed around her. Captains stepped away. Employee representatives turned their chairs toward Maya. Sabine reached beneath the witness table and pressed a remote switch. The Grand Exchange's emergency payout system activated, releasing thousands of account notices to employees. If the licenses froze while the notices remained open, panic withdrawals would empty the cash cages and create the chaos ArcLight needed to seize the properties. Maya had prepared for a system failure. Switch to paper closure protocol. She told the cage managers. Stamp every employee account paid and lock the electronic queue. Ronan repeated her order without adding one of his own. Cashiers across 6 casinos used the manual books Maya had insisted they maintain. The false withdrawal wave stopped at the cages. Sabine drew a pistol and aimed at Maya. Ronan moved, but Maya knocked the hearing terminal sideways. trapping Sabine's wrist beneath its heavy frame. Lucien kicked the weapon beyond reach. Commission officers arrested Sabine under the authority already established by the gaming inquiry. No outside rescue arrived. The people inside the system she tried to capture defeated her with controls she had dismissed. The commission chair restored Maya's credentials and asked whether the ownership hearing could continue. Maya looked toward the employee gallery, then at Ronan. Continue. 12,000 people should not lose their pay because one family member mistook access for ownership. Ronan and Lucien signed the ceasefire agreement. Arclight's claim was frozen pending fraud proceedings. Before the cameras left, Ronan requested the microphone. Maya Bennett did not betray the Castellano organization. She protected our employees, exposed the theft, and gave me proof I refused to value soon enough. I placed her in custody, damaged her clinic, and repeated a false accusation in public. Those failures belong to me, not to my counsel, and not to the evidence. He turned toward Maya. Her name will be cleared wherever I allowed it to be stained. Maya accepted the truth without offering forgiveness. Public restitution was not romance. It was the debt he owed. Sabine's accounts revealed 10 years of theft hidden inside casino renovations, charity payments, and emergency security budgets. Arclight Leisure Fund belonged to a trust she controlled. Her plan had been to kill Ronan, frame Lucien for purchasing the guards, trigger a family war, and use emergency authority to sell the suspended casinos to herself. The attack on Maya had been necessary because Maya could trace the bearer chips after every digital record disappeared. North Star's surviving employees cooperated with the Gaming Commission, and the men who fired into the auction ballroom faced prosecution through the same regulatory task force already supervising the casinos. The ceasefire remained in force. The employees received their wages on time. Ronan restored the tax clinic in a larger building and paid for independent privacy counsel for every client exposed during the raid. He did not attach the Castellano name to the gift. More importantly, he allowed Maya to choose the structure of future oversight. She declined her old position. Instead, she founded Bennett Forensic Integrity, an independent firm with authority to audit both the Castellano and Varga gaming companies. Its contract gave her the power to report violations directly to regulators without family approval. Ronan signed first. Lucien signed after pretending to negotiate the color of her office. Maya refused him twice before he laughed and accepted the original terms. Ronan did not ask Maya for a relationship while she was rebuilding her clinic and her reputation. He attended public meetings when invited, followed her audit rules, and learned to hear disagreement without treating it as disloyalty. Trust returned in small entries rather than one dramatic payment. During the first month, Maya discovered an unexplained maintenance fund and suspended it without calling Ronan. He arrived at her office, read the supporting pages, and accepted the freeze, even though it delayed the reopening of his most profitable gaming floor. In the second month, one of his captains insulted a clinic volunteer who refused to release a client file. Ronan removed the captain from duty before Maya learned what happened, then reported his own decision to her independent review board. In the third month, Maya attended a Castellano dinner where an elder introduced her as Ronan's former accountant. Ronan corrected him in front of the family. She is the auditor with authority over every company at this table. He did not add that she was special to him or use affection to reduce her professional standing. Maya began joining him for coffee after their weekly compliance meetings. Sometimes they discussed the casinos. Sometimes they spoke about her brother. Ronan's fear of becoming his father and the years both had spent mistaking usefulness for closeness. Neither hurried the other toward forgiveness. 6 months later, the families held another relief auction in the same ballroom. The shattered window had been replaced. But Maya could still identify the point where the bullet passed behind her head. She wore a wine-red gown and stood at her own company's table. Lucien approached with a black chip balanced across his fingers. "Triple your current fee," he said. "And dinner without a murder plot." He kissed her knuckles with theatrical care. Conversation around them stopped as guests turned toward Ronan. The old Ronan would have crossed the room and made possession look like protection. This time, he remained where he was and waited for Maya's choice. She examined the chip. Current serial. No hidden ledger. I am becoming predictable. Never. Maya returned the chip and declined the dinner. Then she walked toward Ronan because she wanted to. Not because his status pulled her there. "You did not tell him to take his hand off me," she said. "You did not need me to. Were you jealous? Completely?" The honesty made her smile. "But jealousy is my feeling. It is not your restriction." Ronan offered his hand, leaving space for refusal. Maya placed hers in it. "One dinner," she said. "No guards at the table. No family council. And if I discover an unexplained dollar, I leave before dessert." "Agreed." "You accepted too quickly. I have learned what happens when I argue with your accounting." She laughed, and the sound crossed the ballroom that had once mistaken her smile for betrayal. Ronan did not silence the room with violence. A threat, or a claim that she belonged to him. He silenced it by letting the most powerful woman in his world stand beside him under terms she had chosen. Maya kissed him only after he asked. Around them, the auction resumed. The ceasefire held, and every black chip on every table carried a number she had personally verified.